We don't have electricity, we don't have water, but this is easier for me because I chose it. Common stereotype is how many wives does he have? I don't cook, I don't clean.
Wait a minute, what?
He cooks sometimes. Mimi ni Gaia.
Yeah.
Hi, I am Gaia Dominici from Italy, but I was born in South America.
And I'm here in Maasai Land. Yes, I came here the first time in 2014.
Yeah.
I came because of my university. I was supposed to be on a job placement as a photographer. So I come from like photojournalistic background, and I was working in Nairobi. And then I was working in the slums of Nairobi, documenting like hard stories there.
Yeah.
And I felt of taking a break from that job.
Yeah.
So my boss at that time suggested me, why don't you go to Maasai Land to see, you can do game drive and you can relax. But I was here with for academic purpose, so I was like, I don't really want to go and see animals.
Yeah.
I just want to make the most out of this experience because I'm here for like a short period of time.
Yeah.
It was only 4 or 5 months. So I said, okay, let me try and get some contact and see if I can get some photographic project done down there. Around Maasai and Maasai traditions, and I didn't know anything about them. I had everything. There was nothing that I missed. I had even too much in life. But the trauma of being abandoned by my biological mother was something that affected my life and affected the way I felt. Being me and being surrounded by other people, it's a trauma. Even though I was very small, that there is another life that you could have lived.
How old were you?
I was only 2 months, but there was a problem. On my documents, somebody didn't speak to my parents about my documents, so basically they gave me my name, which is Gaia, but I was already called by my biological mother with another name. So half of the documents arrived with my Spanish name and half with my Italian name, and then my parents just decided to go on with my Italian name. But growing up knowing that you had also a name, so you were already a person, and then somebody, because of a mistake of somebody else, gave you another name, so you are another person, was difficult to handle. And also there was this contrast between my possible other life. My biological mother was an underage girl. She had no accommodation. She was welcomed in this house for like pregnant women with no family, no man or whatever, and underage girls. And then I have this life where my father is a lawyer, and we have this huge house in one of the most beautiful neighborhood in Italy. So I grew up with this contrast, and I think this made me feel like I had to go out in the world and see also the other side. We met when I was taking some pictures not far from here.
Yeah.
It's just 10 minutes probably walking from here.
Yeah.
I was taking pictures of a very young lady because of my series of portraits, and the husband of the young girl was not aware of me taking picture of her, so he saw us, taking pictures around their house, and he ran because of this stranger. And then he was like feeling uncomfortable. I felt really uncomfortable. And then they made us sit down, and I was like, okay, what is going on? Because at that time I was not speaking Swahili, and I was not understanding any word of my language.
Yeah.
And they told me, okay, he's waiting for another warrior coming over, and they will talk about the situation, about how
And decide what to do
yeah, we
with you?
decide what to do. Because I was already ready to, delete all the pictures that I had taken.
Yes.
It was not a problem, obviously. And then he came. And then what really caught my attention was his attitude toward me. He was like helping me through this situation. He was trying to explain this other warrior that I was only a girl, a small girl. At that time I was 20 years old, so I was very small.
Yes.
And that I was in university. So he was like, we should help her like we help our our sisters.
Yes.
Our smaller sisters. So he was really nice to me. And he was like so helpful that he made me take pictures of him, and then the other warrior agreed on him and his wife taking pictures together, and then at the end I took even picture of this Moran that was angry with me.
Yes.
And with his wife and whatever, with the whole situation. So he really helped me.
Yeah.
And this created a connection between us, but I think we were kind of, I don't know, we were supposed to meet probably, because we couldn't communicate with each other, and it was like this for probably 1 year, because I was improving my Kiswahili, but it was still hard to communicate on important things.
Yes.
But
would you visit more often just to see
I
him?
stayed
Or
with
you
him.
stayed with
yeah,
him?
I stayed with
You
him.
stayed
Then
with him.
yes, then I went back to England
Yeah.
because of my studies, and
Yeah.
then I came back again. And then I was like going back to England and coming here maybe for a month, and then going back to England only for my exams
Yes.
in university. And but the thing is, what really surprised me is that right now
I speak Swahili. We can communicate with him and understand each other well.
But if I think about the past, the same relationship, it's the same relationship. I mean, even when we could not communicate, the bond that there was between us is the same. If I compare it to the bond we have now, that we can communicate to each other. So there was something about our souls, probably. It's not something about being able to communicate.
It was deep.
Yes.
In here.
Yes.
It's still deep.
It's still. Sometimes I find that
Right now we can speak and communicate. It's like it's difficult.
Yeah.
I would like to go back when we
We
couldn't
couldn't talk.
communicate, because you use different tools to understand each other. Sometimes words are overrated. We speak so much without listening to each other, but when we couldn't communicate, we really focused on understanding each other and finding a balance between us. But right now that we can speak, sometimes we get lost in our words. I was staying in the boma of his mother, and he was going to another family boma.
Yeah.
So we were not sleeping together, or anyway living together. And what people said, obviously, okay, they welcomed me as a photographer at the beginning, because the first time I came here, I explained who I was. So I'm Italian, I am a student of photojournalism.
Yeah.
I would like to do some project for my university about, Maasai. And they felt very honored. They were like, okay, this Mzungu came all the way here from England. She's very young and she wants to live in the bush. Because I was like, I want to live here. I want to see who you are, to learn your traditions, to share food, to share story. And they were like very open about it. And I was not expecting that. I mean, I was not expecting anything, but you as a journalist, you can understand it. You can predict that maybe your subject do some kind of resistance, but they were totally open. They just loved the fact that somebody was really interested in them, was really also, I wanted this challenge of living in the bush with them. So they were kind of, I don't know how to say, but they found it funny probably. So I had lots of people, especially the elders, that really took me like a small daughters of them. And this protection, I still have it now. This protection and respect. So I'm aware of some people, especially out of this community, that might see our marriage weird, or they don't understand, or maybe they have this negative feeling. Yeah. But as long as, you know, I have people from this community loving me, respecting me, protecting me, I don't feel bad about those people.
And you don't feel like an outsider?
No, not at all. I feel too much Maasai sometimes. they take me like a real Maasai woman. They don't see difference. It's me sometimes that I try to make them understand that I was not born Maasai. So I still have my background. I still have probably my cultural limit also in embracing this culture. Yeah. So I try to make them understand that, yes, I live as a Maasai, but I'm not a Maasai. Yes. Learning Swahili was more a process. I was learning by myself. People from the community was helping me learning. I had some teachers bringing me books for kids. Yes. So they were really helpful, and, you know, they were really helpful. Even the kids were helping me. But then there was a point where I stayed in Nairobi for other reasons, and I decided to take some classes. It didn't last more than a month, maybe a month and a half, but it really helped me, obviously, because I was you know, putting things together. Yeah. So that's how I learned Swahili. About the marriage, my family never met in Toyai before our wedding, so that was the funny part.
Really?
Yeah, they never came before our. They didn't even know that I was about to get married when they came, so it was a weird story. But they never came because of two reasons. The first one was I didn't want them to come. I didn't want anyone to come here because I felt so well, so in balance, that I was afraid that if somebody from my other life came here, could have ruined my peace, my inner peace and my balance that I eventually found it after so many years of, you know, struggling. So they felt like they weren't really welcomed here by me.
By you?
Yes, I didn't want to mix too many things. It was like my happy place, and I wanted just to live here without any other influences. And then they didn't come because they understood this, and also they understood that maybe if they did come, they could have put me in the position where my relationship with Ntoyai would have been really serious. And they wanted to wait for me to tell them I was ready to take this relationship to the next step. They didn't want to make the mistake of putting me or putting Ntoyai in the position, oh, Gaia's parents came, that means that they can get married now. So they wanted just to leave us free to decide by ourselves. We were not even sure that my parents could make it for the wedding, and I would have married him anyway. Obviously, I wanted my parents to be there, but you know, the thing was I'm getting married with him, so he is my person, he's my family.
No matter how we do it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And we did it in Nairobi at Sheria House.
Mulienda hapo kwa Attorney General.
Tulienda. And it was very funny because, you know, the officer started speaking in English. You know, obviously you see a Mzungu and a Kenyan, and obviously you go for English. And we were like, oh my God, Mungu wangu, tutaongea aje hapa?
My God, how will we talk here? So he was like, what language will you speak? Swahili or English? We were like, Swahili.
Yes, so it was really funny because we could not understand English. I mean, I could, but even me, I was surprised because I didn't even think that he would have spoken in English. We chose to raise our daughter here. Nairesia was born in Nairobi, but we chose to raise her here. And obviously there are many traditions involving small children. And I didn't want to go for them because I think they are too can I say, invasive in also in the body. I mean, like to burn their cheeks
Yes.
or to take the tooth off. I mean, I don't think this will make her feel more Maasai than she is. It's just something that will change her body. And what if she wants to go back to Europe? What if she wants to go to Australia and she will always have something on her skin?
Yes.
And she didn't choose
it.
She didn't choose it. I am educated.
Yes.
I come from a different background and I traveled the world, so I already touched other cultures.
Yeah.
So I was already able to adapt myself to different culture and to
Yes.
different environment. He didn't. So even though I moved here, he had to adapt himself to a life with somebody that didn't come from his culture. He had to adapt to my attitude, my mind,
Yes.
my way of thinking, my way of acting. So I think that is harder. I mean, obviously, you can see our house, we don't have walls, I mean wall like cement, we don't have electricity, we don't have water, but this is easier for me because I chose it. I chose to live here, I chose to move here. I'm not saying that he didn't choose to marry me, but he's still where he grew up, inside his culture, and he had to you know, how can I say,
To adapt.
to adapt,
Yes.
but also to live freely while he's still here. I'm living freely away from my home.
Yes.
He lives freely while he is inside his traditional cultures. So it's
So he
much
has to
harder.
deal with the criticism. He has to deal with
But I think like the most common fear or the most common stereotype is how many wives does he have? I mean, they don't even consider the fact that I can be the only wife of a Maasai man because they are so, I mean, Western people, they are so used on hearing these stories that Maasai men have like 20 wives and 100 children, that they don't even understand that there are some traditions that can be changed or they change, or maybe there is one person that even though he's Maasai doesn't follow that tradition. So I get questioned this lots of time and I find it funny. Sometimes I just play with people. I just say, oh my God, yes, we are 5. It's very hard, but you know, sometimes it's nice. You know, you just send him to another wife. I mean, people tend to see limit where I don't see them. I see richness, and they see limit.
How do you handle, you know, when you guys fight? Because I'm assuming, just like in any other relationship, you guys
the funny
have
thing
moments.
is that sometimes I just speak in Italian. So I just tell him very nasty things in my own language. And the funny thing is that he's very bright, so he memorized them and then he just repeat them against me. But so it's very funny how we fight. Sometimes we get frustrated, definitely, because what we face is not like a normal argument between wife and husband. Sometimes other things get inside our argument and makes it harder to understand each other and to come to a solution. You have to be really patient to each other, to yourself. He's very humble, he's very calm, and I'm more like, I don't wait for him to listen to me. I just want this now, right now, the way I want it. So I'm quite bossy. We try to find a balance between our culture, between our personalities, because it's very calm, not much talkative. I am an explosion.
Opposite.
Yes. So more than cultural differences, we have personality differences. I hate like the housewife thing. I don't cook. I don't clean.
Wait a minute, what?
He cooks sometimes.
So when he doesn't cook, what happens?
We just
You sleep.
The only person I cook for is my daughter, just because she's small and she cannot cook. But as soon as she can cook,
Our men love being cooked
no,
for.
he's very independent.
Hey, Krisha.
Yes, sometimes he cooks.
Yes.
Yeah, lots of times he cooks. Also because he says that I don't know how to cook, so he prefers to cook by himself.
As in, your food is not sweet. He says it's not that sweet. Is it true? One moment I add salt, the next moment I add sugar. He complains a lot, so he says, let me cook.
Anasema, acha nifanye mimi mwenyewe. Yes, so I'm not very... Yes, and this is funny because sometimes even like other Maasai warriors or other men, they think that he got a very big luck, good luck, you know? They are like, oh my God, he got this Mzungu, pretty young lady.
Aliangukia.
Yes.
Yes.
Then when they see how I actually am, they are like, oh my God, my wife, she's amazing. She's amazing. So, you know, it's funny because even here we break barrier, we break a stereotype because they think that he, oh my God, he had everything in his life. When they see that he comes back home and there is...
When they see that he comes back home and there is no even tea, I have not even lit a fire.
I hope that my story will be listened to those that think that their life is shit. Can I say shit?
Yes, you can say
I can
shit.
say shit. Who maybe are in a bad situation or who think that, you know, their situation always will always be like this. No, because you have to live in the present. You have to be brave enough to shut the outside world and just to listen to your voice and try to understand who you are, where you want to go, and not to listen to other people, and also be always hopeful.
Yes.
What you feel today doesn't mean that it will last forever.
Yes.